Welcome back to the channel. My name is Devin, and I'm the host of Let's Play Survivor. We're coming off a surprise double boot episode that saw Emily and Ozzy go home. In this video, I'm going to recap last week's double boot and project what I think will happen in episode 12. Just like I've done every week, I'm going to go over the 6 snippets from the next time on Survivor. The first one is Tiffany says Rizzo has an idol that is getting heavier by the day. Joe tells Aubrey Tiffany is the most dangerous. Jonathan says Aubrey is a snake. Devins is having a breakdown in the hammock that says I'm never out. I can only suspect Devins has his back against the wall. Yet again, Cirie tells Jonathan, you have a rat, I know everything. And then last but not least, Aubrey in a confessional says Cirie is the biggest threat. There's a lot to go off of here. Obviously, each week we have a lot of red herrings. So let's dive into a few of the notes from the preview. Just going off of everything we know, Rizzo has held onto that idol for the majority of the season. He did it last season in Survivor 49, but just like Tiffany said in the preview, that idol is getting heavy. And I feel like that is going to play a major part in this episode based on my predictions. We are at the final 7, and the longer Rizzo holds on to that idol, that's one more place that he gets further in the game that somebody will not be able to make. The next bullet point is Joe telling Aubrey Tiff is the most dangerous. I don't put a whole lot of stock into this one. I think this is a red herring for the episode. I suspect this probably is in conversation relating to an immunity challenge. Tiffany has dominated in many of the challenges this season. We saw where she almost won last week, but due to a slight timing issue, Jonathan ended up taking it. I don't put a whole lot of stock into that from Joe, and so I think Tiffany actually will be safe for this episode. I feel like Tiffany's in a really good spot, and we're just not seeing it on the screen. So with that said, I think Tiffany will be safe for episode 12. Next up, it shows a clip of Jonathan telling someone, we don't know who, that Aubrey is a snake. I suspect that this might be either Rizzo or Joe. Jonathan doesn't have a whole lot of defined relationships at this point within the game. We've seen him work with Aubrey recently, and obviously he's not going to tell her that. I don't put a whole lot of stock into this either. I think this is another one of the red herrings for the preview going into next week's episode. Reality. Rick Devins is having a breakdown in the hammock. He says, I'm never out. I don't have a good feeling for my boy Rick Devins. Nobody in the game is a bigger question mark than Rick Devins. His number one ally in Emily has gone home, and so he really is left on an island by himself, which in theory might not seem that dangerous, but he really is a free agent, and so I am putting a whole lot of stock into this for the next episode, and I think Rick Devins might be on the chopping block. Cirie tells Jonathan, you got a rat, I know everything. This is interesting to me. This is why I go back to, I wonder if Jonathan was telling Rizzo about Aubrey being a snake. Rizzo and Cirie are tight, so I could see Jonathan giving Rizzo information and him bringing it back to Cirie. This makes me wonder if they're going to target Cirie. And as we go along in the video, you will notice I have 3 targets who I consider to be in danger for episode 12, and Cirie is one of them. So we will see if Cirie is able to work her magic once more. And last but not least, Aubrey in a confessional says Cirie is the biggest threat. I'm going to say this is reality. We know Cirie is the biggest threat in the game. I'm glad Aubrey realizes it. Not for the sake of Cirie, obviously, because I am a Cirie fan, but I feel like she might be in danger. So with that being said, let's dive into my predictions. There's not a whole lot more to predict this deep into the game. There might be more twists that we don't know. We had no idea last week was going to be a double boot episode with a split down the middle. We have 7 players left, and there are 3 people who I think are the most in danger. That being Rizzo and his immunity idol, Rick Devins, and Cirie. The other 4 players, Joe, Jonathan, Tiffany, and Aubrey, I am going to consider safe and a lock for next week's finale. There's a collection of reasons these 3 players could go home. The most significant one is Cirie. She is a gangster, bro. Don't let this lady fool you. She is a badass, and she is pulling the strings from the shadows. With that being said, Ozzy is gone, and I feel like she doesn't have a lot of room left to hide. I question if her relationship with Rizzo will stay intact moving forward, or if Rizzo might throw Cirie under the bus and let her get run over, much like he did to Ozzy last week. They would be a fool to vote out Cirie this week, in my opinion. Cirie is one of those players that she's never going to win this game. If she gets to the final 3, she wins. Unfortunately, she will never make it that far. And so she's a player you should keep around. She's not going to win immunity. She's not going to win fire. You can take her out at Final 4, and you will be good. The real threats in the game are the people who could win challenges and will their way to the finale. Rizzo, who has the immunity idol. Rick Devens, who we have seen pulls out a freaking bag of tricks and continues to slither through week after week after week. And then you have the challenge threats. Tiffany, Joe, Jonathan. These are the players who are the most threatening as far as you might not have a chance to get them out. So there is an opportunity every week for her to go home. And so I don't see her being the target this week. I feel like her name will be floated and there will be significant consideration. But I'm going to designate Cirie safe and another, I'm not going to call it a lock, but another player I'm going to designate for the finale. This leaves the 2 gentlemen, the Riz God and his immunity idol, and Rick Devens. It's really a toss-up for me as to who I think will go home in this episode. I could see it swaying either way. Rizzo's hidden immunity idol is a problem. I could see them trying to flush it. Do they pit Cirie and Rizzo against Rick Devens? In a perfect world, those 3 would come together, pull in a 4th, and take over the rest of the game. I don't think that will be reality, unfortunately. And even Tiffany mentioned it in the preview. That idol gets stronger the longer it stays within the game. We're at the final 7 right now. Next week we'll be at the final 6 and then the final 5. And then if he makes it that far, he is a lock for the final 4 if he retains his idol at the final 5. So do you want to have that in the game moving forward? Do you want to flush it? Or do you want to get rid of Rizzo? Either way, you can throw votes. You can scare him. I feel like this is the week that Rizzo plays his idol, which I guess gives a little bit of a spoiler alert. I do think Rick Devens will be the next casualty in episode 12. Rick Devens plays hard, he plays fast, and he is a very chaotic player. Although despite his gameplay, he is a very loyal and a very trustworthy ally. Unfortunately, he has nowhere else to turn. I think this week sees the demise of Rick Devens. I have thoroughly enjoyed watching him, and he is one of the players I have most enjoyed on Survivor 50. Unfortunately, I feel like Rizzo is going to play his idol. And I don't see Cirie being the most calculated vote. Cirie would be a big name on your resume, but is right now the time you can drag Cirie along. So with those variables of Cirie being able to be taken out at any time and Rizzo and his hidden immunity idol, I think Rick Devens is going to be the next casualty for Survivor 50 in episode 12. My formal prediction is going to be a 4-3 vote. 3 votes for Rizzo, which will all be canceled. I foresee Rizzo playing his hidden immunity idol, which leaves him vulnerable at the final 6. And then ultimately 4 votes sending Rick Devens home. Again, I don't know if we're going to have any more twists. It feels like we have had a twist every single week. We had the Blood Moon, then we had a proper merge. We had the fallout of the double duo. We had Jimmy Fallon, we had Mr. Beast, we had the split tribals, and now who knows what Jeff Probst and the production team could throw at us. So I might be completely off basis. All of my predictions so far this season have been a big swing and a big miss. I'm batting 0% currently. But this week, that is my prediction. Rick Devens goes home. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Thank you to everybody who stuck around and watched the video. I appreciate you more than you know. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe. It goes a long way in building the channel. And until next time, the tribe has spoken.